Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. And Lance, welcome back. Katie, welcome. I have good news. This is the last week of the dog days of summer, and we're going to hit the fall.
Absolutely, Bob, and new and exciting information that I'm sure we'll talk about fell from the sky.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's, yes. The new SOP's out. Lance is going to talk about that. Since you brought that up, Lance, in your dashboard is the notice as well as the SOP. So feel free to download that, or if you don't have it, just Google it. But they released it on the 28th. So Katie, when did you know about it? It was on Friday? Or did you know?
It seems like the last edit they had was on Friday. They released the procedural notice Friday, so it might have come out late Friday. I didn't see it until this morning, though.
Well, you were more on top of it than I was. Hey, let's go through the poll questions real quick, and then we will. There we go. Are PPP loans considered SBA 7A loans?
Well, and an interesting follow-up question, Bob, that I am not sure that I know the answer to, but I want to see the response.
2/3 got it right. Yes, they are considered a 7A loan. What's your follow-up question, Lance?
Well, the question is, does the PPP dollars count toward your $5 million in eligibility for SBA? That may be the next poll question. Who knows?
No, it's not. I didn't think about that, or I'm reading the notice.
I'm not 100% certain because this is a forgivable loan. So if, I had a lender ask me, does the PPP money count towards your eligibility? Now, my first thought, Bob, is yes, it does. Yeah. But I don't know that to be 100% certain. I'm not 100% certain on that. And it's the same reason they are 7A loans. And my expectation is it probably would count towards your eligibility. But, guys, I don't know that to be correct. I may be wrong.
What is your current work status? Home, office, combination of both?
Interesting to see, and I guess, this is an evolving situation.
Yeah, that's what I like to ask it. I just see what, here we go. There we go. Wow. Which means 2/3 are working out of the house, at least part of the time. Wow. That's surprising. Did it surprise you, Lance?
Not really. I think some institutions are slow to come back to everybody being back in the office. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine at a different bank, and they have brought some of their support staff back. This is an officer at a bank, and he said a loan assistant is now in his office, but he is still working from home, and they're using the offices to help separate the employees and for their safety. So they're making the officers stay home, but they're bringing other folks in to work in the office. So that's kind of a different scenario. So I'm hearing all sorts of combinations of work at home, work in the office, a little of both. And this is the first institution where the officers are working from home, but they brought some of the support staff in, and they've taken the officers' office.
Katie, what about your husband? Is he, I know you moved, can he go into the office, or is he 100% at home? He's with Microsoft, correct?
Right. He's still 100% at home, and they're saying they'll reevaluate in a couple months, but it's looking like they'll be home probably for another year or so.
You going to stay in Seattle or come back to California?
Well, there is a lot of support here and a lot of things that are available to him if we stay here. So that is helpful. There's more support staff and things.
Well, you're away from your boss and your family, so that right there is pluses. Number 3, and I've read some articles about this. In fact, we're talking about this in-house. If you're home, does your institution reimburse you for any of the following? And you could choose more than one: cell phone, internet, IT allowance. We're talking computer equipment and regular office supplies, paper, ink, pens, pencils. What you think, Lance?
I'm not surprised by that. Now, my institution, they provide a cell phone. We have access to all these things are provided to us, and I think most institutions are stepping up. I think initially a lot of institutions probably had to navigate this. You know, they thought maybe they'll be home for 30 days and come back so we don't have to mess.
We thought we'd be home for the fall. Yeah.
Now that people have been at home for 6 months, they're probably, many companies have evaluated, do we need to reimburse them for cell phone, internet, IT, cell phone if they're not providing one, internet, and other things.
And my final question is, oh, by the way, I am sure Katie and Joseph have been scribbled the responses down, and they will be talking to me shortly. The question that I have is, what about infrastructure? What happens? Do you feel you have receive adequate IT support from home? Can you make a phone call? Lance, I believe at your institution, you just make one phone call and it's taken care of, correct?
Yeah, we have outstanding IT support. We've been able to call 24 hours a day to get things fixed and taken care of pre-COVID. So it's continued with high quality support.
I am surprised. 88% said yes. I'm glad to see that. I didn't think it was that high, but that's good. Good. That means that's a huge. We're not IT specialists. We're bankers. So that's interesting. All right, let's get into what everyone wants to talk about. By the way, Dan has clarified that the PPP does not count against the borrower's 7-day limit. So,
that's good to know.
No source on that, but Dan will go with you because it seems much definitive since he put the not in caps. So I think that's Lance, Katie. Let's go with Katie. What do we got, Katie?
So of course we know the new SOP just came out this weekend, and I think what we're going to do now is go through some of the major changes that are listed in the little informational notice that they sent out along with it. The first point was that they defined the term standard 7A loan and 7A small loan to include loans processed PLP authority or a non-delegated authority. They also defined the term basic 7A loan to include standard 7A loans and 7A small loans. So
Lance,
Go ahead.
Katie, I cut you off.
Yeah, so the difference between those are really the amount. The standard 7A is going to be greater than $350,000, or it doesn't meet the SBA's minimum acceptable credit score for 7A small loans. 7A small loans are under $350,000, or they meet the acceptable credit score for a small loan.
Lance, I'm just, the numbers are just fast and furious. Where are we today on Express, and where will we be on Express beginning October 1 and January 1?
Well, Express is at $1 million right now.
Okay.
It will most likely go back to 350,000 unless there's some action taken between now and the end of the year. I think I would be curious to see how many people have utilized the increased Express lending amount. But Express has increased, but it's slated to go back on January 1.
We'll ask that question. Michael, make a note. We'll ask that question tomorrow on are we doing windows. Okay, let's go through this. I know there's a lot of information. Number 3, Edie, go ahead. Or number 4.
We almost skipped it there. Updated guidance for all 7A loans to remind lenders that working capital loan proceeds may not be used to refinance existing debt or finance any ineligible purpose. I think Lance had talked about this before. It's just confirming that.
Well, the working capital component is kind of an interesting component to define this, Bob. They do a working capital loan for the borrower. The borrower says, I need some working capital for operating expenses, and then they pay down a loan. I wonder how SBA would look at, from a servicing liquidation point, since they've clarified this, that.
Number 5.
Well, we're going ahead a little bit here. They
right.
also updated information for the international trade loans to clarify that 50% or more of the loan proceeds must be used for working capital, and the lender must explain that in their credit memo.
Okay. And I know what Lance, and the credit memo we will be talking about as the SB, and Lance is incorporating a bunch of other changes in terms of cleanup. How important is this one, Lance, the 155 credit score?
Increasing the minimum credit score changes things a little, but it used to be 140. Now it's 155. I think it caused a few deals to possibly not be able to be done. But it's like I was explaining to you, Bob, to get to a 140 SPSS score, that's a pretty sketchy credit in most cases. So I don't think upping the credit score minimum to 155 is going to have a dramatic impact.
On average, I know this is why they have separate. On average, what does a 1 relate to, or FICO, and a 150 average?
I'm gonna say a 140 probably translates to maybe say a 550 FICO score, give or take, Bob. And there's no translation. I'm just saying in general credit terms, 155 is probably like a 625 or something like that. They're still, they don't have to have absolute perfect credit to get to 155.
SB Express collateral calculations, Lance, I know you haven't had a chance to do that, but they are asking us to do a little bit more analysis on the collateral for Express loans. We'll skip over that, and let's go to number 7, that they're allowing a larger maturity, which I'm all for, Lance. I assume you are. But they're saying if the IRS allows equipment to be depreciated over 15 years, we can loan for 15 years.
And this is clarification because we've been able to, Bob, in it as a general rule, equipment loans, FF&E loans are 10 years or less. We've always had the ability to increase the maturity if a piece of equipment, dictated had a longer life. An example of that is I did a loan in my career on a trash service who had these giant trash bins, for lack of a better description, oversized dumpsters. Well, those have like 25-year lives. So we were able to extend and do more than a 10-year term on that. I think the clarification on farm loans and maturities kind of been a question. Poultry lending is something quite a few lenders across the country have been involved with. There was a time when we did every poultry loan 20 or 25 years. Then there's been the last couple years where it's been kind of different. Everybody perceives SBA's looking at those as just equipment loans, but they've clarified if 51% of the proceeds is for a house, a poultry house, then you can do a 20-year maturity. But where a majority of it is the equipment, you can do a 12 to 15, up to a 15-year maturity.
Katie, I know there's a number of notes that have been incorporated in the new. One of them is the appraisal threshold. That's nothing new. It says that appraisals are now required for $500,000 loans as opposed to $250,000. But again, Katie and Lance, if the properties are worth $400,000, there's nothing prohibiting you from ordering an appraisal, correct, Lance?
Yeah, SBA sets the SOP. We've talked about this over the years. They set minimum and maximum standards. If they say you don't have to have a third-party appraisal on loans under $500,000, but you as a prudent lender feel like you need it, it doesn't stop you from ordering.
Number 9, who wants to tackle LIBOR? It's going bye-bye.
I mean,
There's nothing to talk about. It's just, I would be shocked if anybody out there is tying the loan to LIBOR. That was held over from the Great Recession where LIBOR was it, but now that's gone by. And Katie, I'll let you wrap up on number 10.
So this is just kind of separating out a separate chapter for export expenses. I know that was a complaint before, trying to go through each of the different sections that were all over throughout the SOP, and now it's all combined into one chapter, so it's easy to find and has all the information all together.
Good, yeah, and as everyone knows, I'm a huge fan of the export lending programs. Lance, Katie's only one out there for 90% guarantee.
yeah, the interesting thing, Bob, is they excluded hotels and convenience stores from export. No, I'm just teasing. Somebody somewhere must have done a C-store project with an export express or export working capital loan. Don't know why, don't know how, but somebody has breached this. It looks like somebody's done a hotel deal with an export express or an export working capital loan. Otherwise, they would not have excluded them in the SOP from those programs.
Well, I know that if there was a hotel that catered to students or international students, I know there was a movement to say, hey, we can use that as an export financing. But now we're saying, no, we're not going to play those games. It's not export. Lance, we're going to do, let's go to the questions and we'll talk about Lance's webinar. Tim asked me, and these are left over from Friday. I apologize for not getting to them. Lance, I don't know the answer to this one. Can you submit a PPP package that is over the SBA's limit of 35 megabytes? And how do we do that?
That is not a question typically my answer would be send this file. But if you use the send this file function, it's going to ask you to send it to Herndon or Little Rock or Citrus Heights. I don't know. You may look and there may be a PPP option in send this file.
I love it when Lance, you have no idea, Lance.
Yeah, normally a file this size would require send this file. I think you're going to have to reach out to SBA to find out how to do it. But I'm telling you, Bob, you might go to send this file and do the drop-down box and see a PPP forgiveness. So take a look and see.
We had Bob Judge on talking about the secondary market, and Rob asked, and Bob was saying how strong the 7A secondary market is. There's an appetite on Wall Street for that paper, and he wanted to know what is the market for USDA guaranteed loans, and USDA pretty well mirrors SBA. So that market is strong, and the attractiveness, again, for USDA is you do not have to split the premium over 110 with the government agency. If you can get anything over 110, you get to keep. So that's attractive. Lance, we're going to do 2 webinars similar to what we did before. We're going to do one Wednesday and one following Wednesday. Register for, it's going to be the same content, but you can register for either one. You can attend both because we know there's holidays coming up. Lance, you've had a whole 45 minutes to take a look at this.
Yeah, guys, I have not had an opportunity to fully digest it yet, but I can promise you between now and Wednesday, tonight, Bob, I'll be sitting on my back patio reviewing the SOP 5010-6, so I'll be able to lead you through what the changes are, help you understand if it's just a ceremonial change, which quite often there are ceremonial changes in the SOP, or if it's a real significant change that will impact your SBA lending.
I will give you some advice while you're writing this up. For some reason, bizarre reason, I was reading about Hemingway over the weekend, and his motto was write drunk, edit sober. So you may want to take that to heart.
I'll take that to heart, but guys, I can promise you between now and Wednesday at noon, I'm going to fully digest and understand the changes in the SOP. And I will share my thoughts and feelings about the SOP.
Very good. Shane, about do we have updates on forgiveness and loans? There's no. When the Senate is out this week.
Right.
So
They're supposed to be back next week, probably Tuesday.
Okay. Shane, we thought it was going to be done after Labor Day. So my guess, obviously, whatever I say doesn't happen. So I probably shouldn't go on the record because I'll jinx it. But
Bob,
soon. How's that? Soon.
I need them to straighten up and get the simplified forgiveness number figured out, because I'm tired. You know, you get calls from customers all day long and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, just be patient. Something better is coming. Same thing. I was just talking to my brother recently. He's like, am I still supposed to wait? I said, you probably should. You know, a best friend of mine got a PPP loan and he's like, what should I? It was under 150. And I'm like, probably ought to just hang on to see what they do. So I need Congress to act on this so I can say, yes, there's a simple form and it's time for you to submit.
We'll cover the SOP a little bit more when we get in depth. We'll talk about major changes. But thank you all for your support. Lance, Katie, the numbers keep going through the roof. And thank you for joining us for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time. Talk to you tomorrow.
Have a great day.